Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today because we have two premier activist community organizers, name it as you will, with us today. Welcome aboard, my dear brothers and sisters. Michael Rudnin, how are you doing today? AVQ, I'm gonna get this right. Avengee Q. Of course, I got it wrong. And of course, we're Lisa Dryman Rice and Paul Fleming. Welcome aboard. ATL is in the house. ATL. I tell you what. Tell me, guys, where are you from? New York City is in the house. Let's see who else. Tell me where you guys are from, and I just want to call it out. Call it out. Call it out. We are gonna have un gran show today. Right now, Keith Ellison is on MSNBC, and I imagine all the networks. I better go ahead and tape that so that I'll have it later on for you guys as well. Here is the deal. Here is the deal. It turns out that all 4 officers now will be charged. And what we're also getting is we're getting an increase in charge from murder 3 to murder 2 on Derek Chauvin. Boy, is that necessary. Hey, Norman Reynolds from Houston, Texas, and Sierra Vista, Arizona for Lisa Dryman Rice, originally from New York City. Justice, yes, justice is coming. Justice is what we will have, folks. That's what we're going to have. Anyway, title of the show today. Activists and community organizers Perla Kohler and Tarah Taylor talk George Floyd and more. George Floyd and more. When you hear these two ladies, you are going to hear people who understand the ills of our society today. But the thing about a lot of us complain, right? We sit down and we complain. We have the guys on TV complaining. What we have now is something new. What we have now is called progressive activist journalism that is there to support activists that are there to make changes, that are out there in the field doing the work. And by the way, yours truly goes out in the field as well. When I was interviewing Tara, I was thanking her for all the work that she did as well as Perla. Like, you guys are working hard, and hey, you guys are younger, so you guys can go out. But no, all of us need to go out there in the field, and we all go out in the field. And if all of us split the work up, we can make the change that we need. You know why? Think about this. How quickly did they fire 4 police officers? That never happens. That never, ever happens. You know why this occurred? This occurred because people, activists were out there. They were there with their cell phones. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Visions from all over. They can't hide anymore. We also have video with cops putting bricks in pickup trucks. Why are they putting bricks in pickup trucks? I don't know. But you know what? We know that activists aren't out there trying to do all kinds of crazy things. Yes, there is QAnon, and we have a few other right-wing white supremacist groups that are out there. And then, of course, there is what is the one that they like to put all the blame on, right? The anti-fascist group, Antifa. Well, Antifa goes and does quite a few things themselves as well. But here's the deal. We know if you're out there torching a lot of businesses owned by ethnic folk, people of color, etc. I wonder where is that coming from? Who is likely to be the ones setting those fires? Who is likely to be the ones throwing bricks in their homes? Again, remember what I just told you. I saw a video this morning, and I'm sorry I didn't link to it so that I could show you guys right here. Video with cops going into an alley in Minneapolis, putting bricks in a pickup truck. And you know, the clowns had uniforms on as they were doing that. They had uniforms on as they were doing that. Think about that, folks. Think about that. Maybe my brother Michael Rudnin will find that video that started to go around and give me a link so that I can show you guys. But it is so important that we get there. Anyhow, let's continue with the show. The title of the show, Activists and Community Organizers Perla Kohler and Tarah Taylor Talk George Floyd. Activist community organizers Perla Taylor and Tarah Taylor spoke about the state of justice in America. They both believe that solidarity is necessary to solve our systemic, racial, and economic issues. Tarah Taylor and Perla Kohler did not disappoint. They both show that our young leaders are taking the bull that is the current structure of the United States social justice system, the criminal justice system, the economic justice system, and the racial justice system by the horns. With young women like these in charge, our future is all but secured, folks. They're going to get it done. And for all those that are pushing back the old guard, as you try to keep that old recessive carnality in the back of your head that have you be hateful, that have you thinking that we must maintain the current patriarchy, that we must maintain the current white supremacy, that we must maintain the social order, that we must maintain a capitalism that hurts, a capitalism that destroys, a capitalism that eats everyone but the few, a capitalism that turns everyone into indentured servants eventually. You know why we are going to win? Let me tell you why we're going to win. We are going to win it all because even those who have succumbed to the hate, those who have succumbed to the cues coming from the plutocracy in a facade that still have them convinced that things are going to be, those other people are taking it from you. They're taking away your birthright. Even they are realizing. They eventually will realize, because it's an unsustainable system, that the system is coming to eat them as well. As it has done eating everybody else, all that's left is you. And you don't look like me. You don't look like Perla. You don't look like Tarah. Right? They're coming for you. Yes, Daniel Lado. The system is coming for you. They're currently trying to make you and Mike Cisak and Lee Grant believe that somehow the reason you may not be doing as well as you should is because of those people coming from over the border. It's because of those people that are taking advantage of you. Visit Appalachia, my daughter just did. And she said, Dad, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize. But you don't hear about it because it doesn't fit the mold, and your corporate-owned media won't show you that. They won't show you that because you are going to realize what your future holds under the current economic system. But without further ado, I tell you what, with all this that's going on with George Floyd, it is important that I play something that I saw last night. And the reason this is so important is because it shows the differentiation between the old guard and millennials. It shows the differentiation of acquiescing to the status quo as opposed to saying, we are moving forward. We are not going to tolerate what the patriarchy has given us. We are not going to tolerate what the capitalist structure has given us to take it all from us. We are not. And I love this young lady. This young lady just said it right. We have Michael Steele, the elitist status quo former Republican chairman, who actually starting to sound pretty damn progressive. As old-time progressives, that is. But this lady, this young woman, is our future. And these women that we're going to be talking to today as well, is our future. Why? Because they get it. They don't sit down and acquiesce. They don't sit down and say, okay, that's how the system works. They don't say that is how things are supposed to be. They say this is how we are going to make it work for us all. And you know what? We take 2 steps forward. We may take a step backward as we did hiring an incompetent little boy, not little boy, that's giving him too much credit, an incompetent toddler to run the country, who used the military as those little toy soldiers he played with, but not realizing the true effect of what he did. Not realizing that putting a whole bunch of military folks on the Lincoln Monument, that somehow the picture that sends to China, the picture that sends to every crackpot dictator around is that, my God, if the United States is doing it, hey, we must be doing something right. You see, we have a toddler who doesn't think through different levels of indirection. We have a toddler who doesn't understand how things look. But anyhow, let's go ahead and play this young woman and what she had to say, and then we'll move on from there, brothers and sisters. Here we go. Michael Steele v. Brittany Packnett Cunningham. Old versus new. I tell you what, after listening to what she has to say, I tell you, we may be at the brink. But check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Donald Trump has done one thing I think is important to note, and that is he's made us appreciate normal. He's made us appreciate what we're now missing. We took a lot of that for granted, a lot of the institutions and the value of leadership, men and women in service who actually empathize with our plight and at least found the words to make us look past the difficulties. Now we know what it's like to have those things disappear, to be absent that. So if nothing else, I guess that's the one good thing that comes out of what Donald Trump has done so.
And all due respect to Mr. Steele, I don't miss normal. Normal was Michael Brown being killed, Sandra Bland being killed, Tamir Rice being killed, a 12-year-old in Ohio playing with the toy. And that happened under a Democratic administration. The truth of the matter is, no matter who's in office, America was built on the backs of Black people, but has never actually protected those same Black people. So I don't miss normal. And I think if you ask most of the folks in the streets right now, they don't miss normal either. The status quo worked for some and not for everyone. And the truth is, justice is not just a moral choice, it is the only lasting choice. To your second question, Brian, we saw an uprising in 2014 in Ferguson and in Baltimore. We've seen uprisings long before that. And chances are, unless we see legitimate and transformative changes to actually create justice in people's everyday lives urgently, we will see rebellions and uprisings again. So the question is not, will we return to normal? The question is whether or not we will take the opportunity we have in front of us to make bold and decisive action to ensure that people of all stripes, and Black people in particular, can experience equity in their everyday lives.
Now, Michael Steele did the normal thing. In other words, yeah, I think just maybe this may be it. I mean, Donald Trump is returning us is making us see that normal may just be enough. These are the same kind of mentalities that put 2 older guys to be running for president. You look at what we have to run for president now, and you see recessiveness, but that's what we've got. So that's what we have. But what Brittany Packnett Cunningham had to say is the future. And if we listen to what she said, we've seen riots before. We've seen in Ferguson. We've seen in Baltimore revolt. Everybody thought, well, just maybe this will make a change, and it hadn't. Well, we have a millennial who sees it for what it's worth. Maybe for a change, we will actually make the change. Brittany Packnett Cunningham really laid into, respectfully, Michael Steele, but she's absolutely correct. She's absolutely correct. When I listened to that last night, I said, that's a piece, that's a cut, I've got to have, because you know what? She didn't just instruct a whole bunch of young people. She put a whole lot of older folks who just tolerate, who just take it, who just go ahead and think this is how things are supposed to be. That is what I love about the younger generation. It's funny because there's another activist that I interviewed that I'm going to play sometime this week as well. That he said to me, he said, "Egberto, let me tell you something. I thought us millennials, we were rough. We really want change and we go out there and fight for change. But my God, those Gen Zs, they don't give a damn. They just go out and they go take it." And I'm like, you know what? It's funny because in my Gen Z aged days, that's how I looked at things. Got me in a lot of trouble for the way I thought. I had to work, given that I spent 5 years in corporate America and the rest of my life in doing my own software business. It wasn't quite easy because it had always had to be done sort of on the down low, not under a pseudonym. If you look at some of the stuff done by politicaltruths.info, that was me. That was my site in the good old days. I got rid of it and moved. But anyhow, it was under pseudonyms, etc., etc., etc. But let's go ahead and get started. I want you to meet Perla. Let's start with Perla, and then after that, we'll have Tara. So go ahead. Here we go. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm here with Perla Kohler. Perla, thank you so kindly for being with Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me.
Perla Kohler, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm actually a disabled combat veteran. I served in Somalia piracy ops with NATO forces 2010. I am a local activist for all social justice issues. I would definitely believe firmly in solidarity. So not one issue is bigger than the other. I think we need to stand together, especially in these times. We need to be speaking out for our Black brothers and our Black sisters.
Now, Perla, you were in Somalia, so you know what lawlessness looks like. You know what it is for somebody to be able to take somebody else's lives with impunity without worrying about being taken to jail without paying a price, don't you?
Yes, that's correct. To see something like that going on, I mean, these people, and it's not like they're the bad guys or we're the bad guys. We always have like a different mentality. Being from different places and different environments give us a different like ideology. For the Somalians, half of them, I mean, they're born into like poverty, like complete destitute. They're destitute from the get-go. Half of them get malaria or some kind of life-threatening disease from the get-go. So they have no remedy but to do these type of things. I don't condone it, but I understand why they go and do these things. But going on further with, there's no actual like hierarchy or any type of consequences on people, because as military, we're not allowed to shoot at anybody unless we're shot at first. So I don't understand how in my military experience, I couldn't shoot at anybody until I was shot at. But for policemen, we don't even have guns. They're not even like triggered, or I mean, these are little kids with a play gun that are being shot in broad daylight. These are people with a cell phone. These are people that are just sleeping. These are Black people just living normal lives for no type of threat other than being Black. I didn't know being Black was a crime. And that's what it seems to feel like right now in America.
Absolutely. So now, Perla, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is I'm trying to get a feel of what was occurring in Houston, which I think is representative of many other cities, for the George Floyd rally, which I think you attended, right?
Yes, sir, correct.
Tell me a little bit about your experience there.
So the first one that we had, we were marching down to City Hall with the Black Lives Matter sponsored event. It was nice for the most part. We went up there, everyone was, I mean, it was a peaceful protest. The only thing that I really kind of saw was condescending cops. And I hate to say it, but it was most likely the Hispanic cops that were kind of like provoking the crowds, which it feels horrible because I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico, and see my people kind of be dismissive to something that is so like pertinent, that's going in our communities, that we have to speak out with. It's our God-given patriotic right to go and protest.
You just confused me a bit. The people that are aggrieved by cops in general are black and brown, Latinos and black folks specifically in Houston that are taken advantage of. You're telling me that what you saw from the Latino cops was a sort of condescension. Explain that a bit.
Yeah, so we were marching. I was walking with my fellow veteran, Navy veteran, Sean, and we had black cops Hispanic cops just like waving at us, just kind of like, oh, okay, we're still here. You're not going to do anything. Try us. Like very condescending. Like they wanted a reason. They were trying to provoke us.
So they wanted you all to do something to bash you in.
So even like their riot gear was on. And after everything was said and done, when we walked back to Discovery Green, nothing happened. I mean, when we walked to City Hall, obviously there was like an encounter with somebody there. We did see 3 snipers on the top of the building to the side of us, to the right of City Hall.
Uh-huh.
Kind of, you know what I mean? This is the peaceful protest. What are you guys doing? Also, when we got back to Discovery Green, we kind of started walking alongside off the planned route that they had already. I almost got ran over with a fellow veteran because the cops started like running lights. They didn't put the sirens, but they put the lights on. Had my friend not grabbed me, I would have been run over in front of the George R. Brown.
So you're saying that the cops, in effect, were trying to provoke some sort of activity. At the same time, we had Acevedo, our police chief, come out there and try to play like he was a part of the system. Are you saying that was just an act?
That was a show, definitely, because you're being controlled. Having a police officer among them, it's more like a control for them, if anything. If you really wanted to do something, Acevedo should have been talking about the 5 black men and the 1 Hispanic man that were killed in the last month. That's what I want to see. I want to see some type of action, some kind of accountability for your cops. Don't just stand in there and smile and wave and give these cute little speeches on camera. Do what's right.
No, it's interesting because, again, a lot of people their thought process is that all these around the country, all these rallies, all these protests, all these riots are caused by just George Floyd, the killing, the maiming, the dehumanization of George Floyd. I think what you're telling me here is each of these cities can tell you stories of their encounters, the encounters of black people and Latinos and others with police officers. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. It's been 400 years of these oppressions that we've had. It went from slavery to Jim Crow laws to mass incarceration to still like the loophole in the 14th Amendment. Like it's continuing, and for these voices to be suppressed, the only reason, and I say this, and I've said it before, the reasons that we weren't taking to the streets before is not that that we had enough. It's the fact that we had the false illusion of some financial security. Now with how many millions unemployed, they forwent and forego the whole rent freezes. They're not taking care of their people. So these people are desperate right now. These people are so tired of watching their black brothers, their black sisters, everybody being killed without any type of accountability on the part of the police department. We're tired of the police policing the police and finding nothing, no convictions, no charges, nothing of the sorts. And I mean, how is it that being black, going out in the communities, that's almost like a sentence to death, you know? And then like the fact that people want to pretend like racism is in its existence, yet we had this white woman call on a black man, the birder, and I believe in New York, to be like, oh, I'm gonna tell him you're threatening me. You're a white liberal. Even amongst our own people, we're getting killed. You know that's a death sentence if you say things like that. There is a possibility, and you're still gonna go and do that. What we need right now is some type of resolution. We don't need like these cops that are sitting down and needing with us. No, we need you to start telling your cops to stop doing wrong, because even though we have cameras on y'all still go and kill us. You're still continuing to kill our people. You protect and serve us, but what are you doing? You're self-serving. You're a bunch of thugs with the union that's protecting people that should not be wearing a badge, people that should be arrested and in prison right now. Why are we protecting them? Why are we not protecting our communities? And I'm
Wow.
tired of that.
What do you hope going forward with the activism that you're doing with people of all ethnicities, races, creeds? What what is the solution? How do we move forward?
Moving forward is, let's not pretend that there's not racism. I don't want to hear that I don't see color, because that's a damn lie. Because they're seeing it and they're shooting at it. So right now, one of the things I feel that would be, I think, in the right direction is to start organizing civilian resolution agencies regarding investigations upon cops. Police should not have the ability to police each other because they're protecting themselves. You want to talk about there's good cops and bad cops. Well, those good cops are allowing bad cops to do bad things. So if there's 1,000 great cops and 10 shitty cops, there's 1,010 bad cops, because no one's doing anything to correct that. So if there's no type of accountability, guess what? It's going to continue. We're going to have Black brothers and Black sisters and brown brothers and brown sisters all dying.
Perla Kohler, thank you so kindly for the interview. Thank you so kindly for what you're doing out there. Keep up the great work. And thank you for having served this country, unlike many of those who would be out there criticizing you. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Now, I would want Perla on my side every single time because she never backs down. She is a real warrior. And you see the pictures that I have of her on the promo where you can see what she represents. Okay, the other person we have is Tarah Taylor. This is a hard-working woman. And when I spoke to her, I looked at her and I said, she was up, did the interview, but I could see after the interview that she's just working so hard with the movement. But you know what? That is what we have to do. That is the only way change is going to get made. And we are lucky to have had, or not to have had, but to have all these people working. I bring quite a few of them to you from all over the country. Regular folk that go out there, beat the pavement, the ones that you don't see on MSNBC as these talking heads talk. They're people doing the real work, and they're out there getting it done. Check out Let's Talk to Tarah. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis. I'm with Tarah Taylor, a community organizer in Houston, Texas, and a well-known one. Hey, Tarah, tell me a little bit about yourself before we start getting into the George Floyd issue.
Sure. So I started in criminal justice work in 2014. I got on a caravan to Ferguson with some teachers from TFA. We stayed out there for a couple of days and organized with the community, did some organizing work around the DA there, came back, and we started Black Lives Matter Texas. Most of us were from Houston, so it became Black Lives Matter Houston. Ashton Woods took it over. And since then, I've been working with organizations like the ACLU, Texas Organizing Project, and many others to try to stop the police brutality that's going on in our country. And as you can see, 6 years later, we're still dealing with these issues.
Now, I want to put a little positive spin on it. I know earlier on when we started to talk, you said it just seems like things just stay the same. I'm a bit, and I please don't take this as condescending. I'm a bit older, so I can see a whole lot of difference from when I just got to this country to how we are now. And I can see that under Trump, we've regressed some. I don't think we've regressed as much as we think. I think more than anything else, what we've done is we've taken a scab off that was always there. Mm-hmm. That is my impression. So the only reason I'm telling you this is we need young fighters like you in the game without fear or even feeling that somehow it's not working. Your job, what you're doing is actually working, Tarah. Let me just tell you that. It's working, and they want you to stop. But anyhow, going back into what you did on for the rally, tell me a little bit about why, even as you hadn't been attending a whole lot of rallies in this near term, that this one you felt you had to go to.
Yeah, so I quit going to rallies because I became overwhelmed multiple times, going to protests, and became sad, frustrated. Back in 2017, I was tired of doing this every couple months or so. And I just became extremely emotional and wanted to stop going to the protest. Stop
Explain what
seeing.
that is all about. What emotional about what?
Yeah, so during the Mike Brown protests, I pretty much watched live streams all day long, and I mean all day. Um, and I watched my people get shot with rubber bullets. I watched them get tear gas. I can still hear the LRAD in my mind. It's traumatizing to not only watch your people be brutalized, but killed over and over and over and over and over and over again. And this was one of those instances where George was murdered. And it's very cut and dry. And it was so egregious. And I became so angry. The first day I was trying to make sure if it was true. The second day I was appalled. The third day I was sad. And the fourth day I was angry. And I made a split-second decision to go to the protests. I was like, I'm going. I knew it was going to be dangerous, and I was okay with that because I was mad and I wanted to tear up some stuff too. I wanted to yell at some cops too. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march until I got tired. So that's what inspired me to go.
Now, I want to dispel something here, Tara, because only someone like you can actually put some meat to this to this false narrative, to this false equivalence. A lot of people say, well, hell, in the black community, people are shooting up each other.
Let me tell you
How
something.
do you answer that? And I need you to answer that because I am personally, you said you're tired. I find it amazing that I have to answer that. So please do it.
I find it amazing too. And the difference between Black people shooting each other and cops shooting us is the consequence. When Ray Ray and Pookie get into a shootout, somebody's going to jail. But when Chad decides that he wants to kill us in the street on camera in full view, broad daylight, he gets a mandatory 24 hours before he is taken to jail or questioned. And that's if they do it right away. This officer went 3 or 4 days before he was arrested. The officers that shot Breonna have still not been arrested. We do not get the same types of justice. And that's why we're out here. When we kill each other, justice, in a sense, for the victim is served in most cases. In most cases, for Black people or people of color in general, when they are brutalized by police officer, there is no justice. We may get an arrest, but we won't get a conviction. We may get a conviction, but the sentence is not fair. So there are many stages in which this is not helpful to our community. Do people need to go to jail when they shoot people? Absolutely. We just wanted to apply fairly to everyone, especially those who are held in high esteem in our society, like police officers.
Now, Tara, that is something everybody can see. I want to add a little something else to that I try to explain to a whole lot of our listeners. And that is, do also remember that killing, it's not a huge thing, no matter how you see it on TV on Channel 13. You know, people would want you to believe that you're going to certain areas, it's a killing field. First of all, that isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that the same within the margin of error, Black people who kill Black people is what is white people who kill white people.
Right.
People who live in a vicinity kill each other. That is what happens. So it's not and what shows up on TV is Black killings. White killings don't make it as often on TV. And when we break it down into a socio-economic domain, we find that if you compared Appalachia with certain parts of our ghettos, we find that the criminality, or what we decide to call criminality, are similar. So all these statements, you know, between what you said and what I'm just saying, it gets very difficult having to explain that over and over again, the false narratives that they put out there. So I'm glad to see that you're out there telling the story, that we have a lot of young activists, young community organizers doing the same. Now, tell me, I think you had a little issue trying to leave downtown. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that, working for the ACLU, I definitely know my rights. We were corralled into a trap, which we had been trying to avoid all night. And we had done a very good job of trying to outsmart the police. And, by, I guess it was 10 o'clock or so, we did get caught. It was about 40 of us. They separated us from the larger group, and basically boxed us in. They basically put us in timeout. We sat there for about 20 minutes or so, at which point they told us that we would be allowed to leave and go, but not before they ID'd us all and took our pictures. I
Oh wait,
know
let me understand this. You didn't get arrested, but you got ID'd, meaning your card, your driver's license.
I'm not exactly sure what the extent of the ID was. I personally came out there and did not want to be identified because I had been taken to jail before for protesting. So I was not going to be ID'd. One, I did not bring my ID with me.
Good.
And two, I did not know what they were going to be doing with the information. And I knew once they said they were going to take our photos, I was absolutely not going for that. And I knew it was a violation of our rights. And I asked on Facebook just to make sure the laws hadn't changed, because it seemed very blatant what they were doing. We were all walking, so there's no reason to stop and frisk anyone. And the picture taking was even more egregious, because I felt at that point, any information that we gave them would be used later on to either grandfather in a conviction or
Right.
charges. And I was not having that. First of all, I didn't do anything, but I wasn't going to let them pin charges on me either. So once the entire group, which was surprising, got up and allowed themselves to be ID'd, in which way, I don't know, because I refused. I sat down on the curb and waited for them to do what they needed to do with everybody else, and was waiting for them to come to me, which surprisingly they never did. And they seem to have gotten distracted with a meeting with their supervisors. And then at that point, I got up and left.
You just walked off.
Yeah, I sat there the whole time with a shield covering my face.
Okay, great.
So I could not be identified, and they didn't bother me at all, which is surprising to me.
Did you make them know up front that you knew your rights? So that,
I did not. I didn't say a word because I didn't want to provoke them to try to ID me or give them a reason to lawfully ID me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, so tell me, what was your general feelings as to the success of the success of the civil part of the protest? Because I understand there were you got infiltrated after a while.
Well, first, let me say that I was not at the protest during the day. I didn't get there till 7. I heard that there was multiple arrests and confrontations with police and amongst activists that day. I was not there, though. I didn't make it out until about 7 o'clock. In terms of infiltrators, I've been to many a protest, here at home and abroad, as well as in other states. I would not say that there were infiltrators at the protest on Friday. What was happening was another group organized a protest that, to me, was very organized. Everybody had a role to play. There were skaters, there were taggers, there were people destroying things, which I don't discourage as long as it's a symbol of oppression, like police cars and things like that. But there's always a byproduct of, looting or real criminal activity with protests. There were people that were breaking things just for the hell of it. And when I say breaking things, I mean storefronts, glass. Of course, the taggers are doing their job by tagging anything they can find, whether it be a window or a wall on a business, whatever needs to be done. But, at one point we began to, and we as in the group, not any particular person, began to break the windows of a deli just for no reason. And I think they actually got in and took some things. I do know the organizer of that protest was trying to keep the protest moving, because the longer we linger, the more things get broken around the protest. So there's no way for us to control anyone. I have led many protests and disagreed with tactics of others, and there's really just no way to stop them. At the end of the day, nothing has to get torn up if these instances of police brutality and murder don't happen. So it just is what it is. I wouldn't call it infiltration. It just is something that happens when protests are that big and the stakes are that high. You know, people are opportunists, and you just have to keep moving. I mean, I'm not worried about somebody's store. I'm worried about our lives at this point. So at the end of the day, if these stores want to, you know, keep their businesses intact, they need to start talking to the cities about good policing.
You know, that is an interesting concept that you just stated there. I think I said that in a recent, actually, I think in a recent video, that all these people are complicit. Everybody is complicit. If you have a particular sect of your population who also supports you, and you allow them to be murdered on the streets, then while you and I may not do something specifically, others may.
That's right. I mean, in organizing, we talk about secondary targets a lot. You know, we have the primary target, which could be, for example, the mayor. If the mayor won't do what we want, then we go after the council members, or we go after his donors, or we go after his voters. And this works similarly. Big box companies like Target, AutoZone, Quick Trip, remember Ferguson when they burned the Quick Trip
Yes.
down? Those companies need to say, we're not going to rebuild in your city anymore if you guys can't get your police department together, because that's what's starting and sparking these looting activities, is the protests that are stemming from police brutality. And we really need their solidarity with that. I'm sure they don't want their stores broken into. We really don't either. But at the end of the day, that's not our problem. I mean, it just is what it is. So if they
Survival
want to
is the
stop it, they
problem.
need to step up too.
Or survival is the issue. Well, look, Tarah, what's next in your near-term future? Are you?
So what's next right now? Houston has a protest on Tuesday at 3 o'clock at Discovery Green with the Floyd family. I look forward to that. I look forward for a peaceful rally. I am never going to tell people not to, do what they need to do to get their voices heard. I just want us to do it at the appropriate time. People are bringing their children, let them get those kids out of there, and then we can do what needs to be done. On the policy and organizing front, there are two things that we really need to do. And one is to defund the police departments. That's a long game strategy. We need to move funds away from them, stop them from being given military equipment. We need to take funds away and put that into things that really help our community and really get to the core of why we are sending police officers, whether it's mental health issues or social issues. We need to send social workers and EMTs to some of these calls, and we need to put money into that instead of sending police officers. And the second thing, and the hardest thing, and I think really the core of all of this, is to stop the police unions. I am a union girl, I'm a union member, and I'm a union leader. I lead a union. And let me tell you, the police unions are the problem. They're the ones that set these measures to where you can't talk to police officers within 24 hours of them killing somebody. They are the ones who are representing the police officers and paying for their lawyers in court. They are the ones who are allowing police officers that have multiple infractions, like the officer that killed George Floyd, to continue to serve on the force, or if they get fired, to go to the nearest police department. That needs to stop. And they are the problem. The politicians are scared of them, and we need to figure out how to abolish them, quite frankly.
Now, I want to ask one question, because I had another activist talk to me about defunding the police department. How exactly does that work? And how does that work with respect to keeping a community safe?
One, it will make the community safer. And
in other words,
Houston right now,
is there policing necessary within the community?
Is policing necessary? It depends. Some communities are able to self-police, and they do that in a lot of rural areas. That's how Ahmaud was killed, because they were self-policing. Um, the way that we defund these police departments, it depends on what agency, but right now the city is going over their budget. And the majority of the budget for public safety is obviously spent on police. Um, and we simply need to elect people that will do the work to defund them. We need to elect city council people and mayors who don't see the value in sending police to domestic violence calls, or to send police to an instance where we have someone who has intellectual disabilities, if they are having an episode. We need to send the right types of people. We need to send
I got you. So my next question then to that, Tara, because what I'm looking for is the practical solutions, which is what you've just given me. In other words, if there's a mental issue, you send in a mental person. Now, what do you send for a security issue? Are you saying defund the police, or do you saying rebrand the police into?
We need to move money. I am saying defund them for sure. They still need to do their public safety work. If there's a security issue, things like that, of course.
My question then is, defunding don't mean zero money for.
No, not at all. I mean, the police have to have
that's what
some
I'm
money,
trying to get at. Okay, good.
But we're not buying drones and semi-automatic weapons and crazy things like that. And that goes for the sheriff's office as well, and constable's office. Okay. Every level.
That is what I wanted to clear up, because what happened a lot of times is when you use the particular words are then used in a narrative to work against you. And that's what I wanted to clear up in what I'm saying. So I got that. Now, look, Tara, you are a bastion of information, and you are an activist, and that I think that we need to keep, that we need to have out there, and not only doing the work, but replicating yourself. Because there's so much that that others need to understand. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on to Politics Done Right. And rest assured, you have backing from your community.
I thank you to all the people of color, and people of color means people of color. That means black, brown, yellow, red, whatever you are. Like, we're all in the struggle right now. I know the focus is on Black lives right now, but all of our lives are in danger, and we have to stick together. All we got is ourselves. So just keep fighting, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Tara Taylor, community activist, Houston, Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me go ahead and welcome a few more other people. Lee Grant, Idub, Anna M. Montes, welcome aboard. Let's see, Shara Elise, let's see who else that I don't think I've acknowledged. Shara Elise, I think I just did, and Montes. Rick Brand, welcome aboard. Para ver. Frank W. Slade, welcome aboard. ¿Quién más? Let's see. If I missed you, just send another message and I'll get to you. Okay, let me run through these messages from Facebook, Twitter. No, it's, I think, Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube here. Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. Okay, let's see which ones I need to answer. Let's see. Activist journal. I guess I'm a propagandist according to Mr. Ledo. Okay, Mr. Ledo, I'll take that. The police department responded to the video of truck with bricks. The police had come across broken bricks at a university building or something and were taken to HQ, which then the cops called and let them know. No, they got caught. Thank you. Because we got a whole lot of videos with a whole lot of strange people doing all this damage in the name, and some of them wanted to call it Antifa, some of them wanted to call it a whole lot of stuff. You can believe the crap that they tell you if you want to, but we know what we saw, and we constantly see that. It looked covert, it was covert. You can believe that if you will. Anyhow, continuing, let's see. Para ver. Mike Cisak. About twice as many white people as black people are killed by police. Well, then you're agreeing with me. If you say twice as many white people are killed as black people, you just agreed with me. Numbers, brother, numbers. Math matters. Math matters. We represent 13%, meaning blacks represent 13% of the population. So if that's the case, there is a problem. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Ledo says you have a problem with social order. What are you, an anarchist? We love social order. You know the word social? 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 Capitalism doesn't like social order. Capitalism likes one order. We on top, you below. No social order. Thank you. Thank you for making my point, Mr. Ledo. You always do it. You know, Ledo, you are a progressive and you are a socialist. And in all the things that you say, you don't realize where it's coming from. You see, capitalism puts on a socialist facade to exist. And most of you don't realize that a lot of the stuff you're pushing, that's what you're doing. It is the same thing that I spoke about Reagan. When Ronald Reagan went into power in 1980, Ronald Reagan said, I am going to, we're going to strangle the budget. We're going to strangle government. So what he did is he started building the military up like crazy. He started giving tax cuts like crazy. And then somehow he wanted you to believe that he was being this great person that believed in this new way. No, he was a Keynesian model. It was a Keynesian model. He was blowing up the money supply, increasing the money supply by creating debt. It's amazing to me how most people don't understand economics and how the right uses the same techniques but only in a manner that helps a few. Let me give an example. Donald Trump went ahead and he passed a tax cut scam. Okay? Now here is how he passed the tax cut scam. America is Obama left him an economy that was going up high. If you take a look at the numbers, the trajectory of that increase in the economy is the same. It's a continuation of what occurred with President Obama. The economy was growing at the same rate. When Trump came in, he dipped it a little bit. It wasn't as steep as in some parts of the Obama growth model, but that's okay. Those things fluctuate. But Donald Trump didn't do anything special to create this great economy because he didn't. Okay? There were all the systemic problems within the economy that needs to be fixed, and which is the transition of all our capital is going north, going up right up to a few. But Donald Trump did a Reagan, but he did a double Reagan, right? Double Reagan, actually he did a Reagan. He cut taxes, which was not going to the average person. He cut taxes for corporations who then went ahead and increased the value of the stock market by buying back stocks. He then goes ahead and he starts rebuilding the military with a whole lot of stuff we don't need, right? How many atomic bombs do you need? How many more ships do you need? You don't need them. But he builds them. So he supercharges the economy with spending. Just not spending for you and me. Just not spending to educate Americans. Just not spending to give Americans health care. Just not spending to go ahead and give Americans family leave. Just not spending to give people the things that make a social order. Hey, remember what I'm talking about, Daniel Ledo? To give you a good social order to make us happy, like how they're happy in Denmark, right? So he doesn't do any of that. I mean, he still spends the money. He uses Keynesian model. He spends the money. He spends a lot of money. And the economy goes up a little bit like it always has if you spend money. The thing about if you follow monetary theory, you realize if you throw money to a whole bunch of people who have a lot of money already, most of what they're going to do is keep it. You know, they may invest it. If you're investing in something, you're expecting a return. But if all the money is going to the top and more money is not going to the people who would spend the money for the things that you would need to invest in, there's nothing for America. But you see, these are no longer American companies. These are now multinational companies. And whereas America has grown out, they don't care about growing America anymore. But there are a lot of countries in the world where there's growth potential. We can send a lot of water companies to Nigeria. We can send, because, our oil companies done pollute the entire water system. So, hey, bottled water solution. and you go to Nigeria and you expand. Nestle expands in Nigeria, and all these other American companies expands everywhere else, and they can get more delta profits, right? The delta, America, there's not a lot of delta anymore, right? They don't want to pay people the kind of salaries for America when people in overseas would work on pennies on the dollar. Same thing happened in Europe, right? But just not as bad. Europe have a very good social safety net. So you sit back and you believe somehow that these plutocrats are doing something special for you. No, they're spending the same kind of money. They're blowing the budget just like everybody else. But they're not investing into capital for you. In other words, if you overspend but you're building a road, the money turned into a road plus labor. If you go ahead and you educate somebody, the money turned into expanded education, which can create more. If you expand into family leave, the family leave turns into this guy being able to now get a job that pays taxes, and it goes back into a loop. These are logical things that they want to stupefy you into not understanding, so that the very few can continue to capitalize on money. And you may say, but wait a minute, wouldn't they really do better if more people did fine? Yes, they would. But you have to understand this. Capitalism is an exploitative process. Because what happens if, as you educate more people, educated people start to ask the special question, why am I doing the work and you're getting the spoils known as a capitalist injection that thing called a dividend? Why can you just by owning a whole lot of capital forever own me? It is slavery. And when you are educated, you eventually find out that capitalism is nothing more than antiseptic slavery. And when you understand that capitalism is antiseptic slavery, you start to say, I am going to make the profit off of my work. I am going to make the profit off of my intellect. If you want to loan me money, I will then give you a fixed return on your money, and then I'm done with you. You know, when a bank loans you money, they loan it for a certain interest rate for risk. And then when you pay it back, you're done with them. But that's not how it works on capitalism, right? I own a piece of your company till kingdom come. I own a corporation. So you have to understand the different models. And once you understand that we are not, America has never given up on slavery. We just found a way to make it more palatable. That's all. Remember that. We have never, ever, ever given up on slavery. We have just found a way to make it better. Slaves, you had to clothe them, you had to feed them, you had to make sure they had health insurance, that is making sure they don't get sick, and you had to make sure they were always available. Today we have the employee that works for a corporación. And when you work for the corporation, guess what? You are now disposable. I don't have to give you health care. And if you get sick, throw you away. If you don't have child care to be able to come to work, to hell with you, somebody else will. That is the difference in the system. And once we are able to articulate that to more people, we're going to win. But we have to get people, we have to unchain people's minds. We have to unchain what the Powell Manifesto did to them. The Powell Manifesto made you believe that this was the order, that this was the way things were supposed to be. That is what they did. No, the current Lee Grant, the current healthcare system is slavery. When you buy an insurance policy, if you buy an insurance policy from me, I tell you what drugs you can have. I tell you what doctors you can see. I tell you what will be covered. I tell you what won't. Remember that. That is slavery. Medicare for All says, go find you a doctor, we pay for it. And not only that, we tell you what the parameters are that it fits in. This is what we pay for, period, that. You don't get that elsewhere. Folks, we're coming close to the end of the show. I want to ask all of you who watch the show to please consider becoming contributors to our show. Please go ahead and become, actually what I'd love for you to become, or subscribers. How do you become a subscriber to Politics Done Right? All you have to do is go to Patreon, Patreon.com. Patreon.com. Again, let me write that out. Patreon.com/politics done right. If you want to supply us with a contribution via PayPal, you can do so as well. And enter in our PayPal address as well. I think I just put it there. For some reason, every so often, this stuff stops giving me the ability to put that in. So what I'm going to do as we speak here is see if I can open another window and stick that baby in there. Anyhow, let me go ahead and give that again. If you want to become a member, if you want to become a subscriber, which is what we need, and our subscriptions are very inexpensive, please go ahead and put it onto Patreon.com/politics done right. Again, that is Patreon, and I just got it listed in there. Patreon.com/politics done right. To go ahead and do it under PayPal, you can just go to paypal.me/politics done right. Again, that is paypal.me/politics done right. And don't forget to visit our store.politicsdoneright.com. And if you want to know what's at our store, just take a look at the screen now. And we have, of course, our t-shirts that says, I support independent media. You can also get my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. And trust me, folks, that is the only resort we really have. Class warfare is the only resort to really take over who we are. And of course, I've had weight problems before, so I really learned how to manage it now. Lose weight and be fit now. I worked hard to keep the pressure down, all that good stuff. And then the other thing that I'd like you to do is consider getting one of our cups. Mira esto. I support Politics Done Right, independent media. So anyhow, folks, please, that is the only way we are going to make it here. If we get our support, again, go to patreon.com/politics done right, patreon.com/politics done right, and of course, paypal.me/politics done right, and shop at our store. Please get some of our stuff. We are here for you. Thank you for being here, guys. I love you all. I love my lefties. I love my righties. I love my conservatives. I love my liberals. I love my progressives. I love my anarchists. I love all folks. And you know why? Because I understand that we are all in the same boat. Anyhow, folks, let's close this baby down. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.